Yeah, if Christ had not came into my life, I have no idea where I would have ended up. Thoughts of, that dark place, if I don't care, it doesn't matter what happens to me. Driven the car off the cliff, those thoughts always coming whenever you're driving. Just, I don't know what, where it would have just derailed, but I probably wouldn't be standing here today.
I was a gang member. I was a killer. I was a sociopath.
I was sexually molested pretty much my whole life.
Got a taste of this violence. It's scary, but it felt good.
Talk about this shameful little secret.
It was so traumatic. Satan stole my virginity.
I was standing at the gates of hell.
It's been an incredible journey. I get so emotional because it's just transformed my life.
Your suffering's come to an end.
It was like a dark tunnel, but all of a sudden, at the end of that tunnel, I could see a little light.
It just came pouring out of me. And then everything changed.
My whole life is different.
Forgiveness, hope, and ultimate redemption. God, the one you've been searching for, was real.
I've been so transformed that it's like hard to even believe that was me in a way. And the people we run into today, we share pieces of our story, and all the time we just get like, what, like that's in your past? Like we just would never know you had marriage issues, or we never know you had drinking issues, or used to be a fighter, and it's just it's interesting to hear them say that now because of just how much of a different person I've become through this transformation journey.
Steve, your story includes a rich heritage with a strong missionary family. Personally, you are aware of the Christian fundamentals and beliefs growing up. In fact, at the age of 6, you prayed as Christians pray, a sinner's prayer. And you did that with your mother. Now, I want to ask you, spiritually, what do you remember at 6 years of age from a spiritual perspective? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, I remember this moment of us climbing the stairs together, and I just felt this prompting that, the culture I'd grown up in with all these missionaries and pastors and uncles and aunts, all in ministry, was just this authentic love, this tangible, authentic love that was different. And on this day climbing the stairs, I just felt this idea that the Creator loves me, and I'd heard this message, but I felt the prompting to be like an invitation to join Him in this journey that He wanted to be part of my story. So I could just feel the tangible joy of God on this moment, saying, this would bring me such great joy.
Now, you knew that at 6, when you prayed that prayer, something happened?
I mean, I don't know what happened. I didn't have a crazy experience or anything at that age, as most kids do. But in that moment, I knew it was real, and it was real for me, and that I was just excited to be a part of it, of God's journey.
A couple of years later, unfortunately, your mother and your sister had passed away, and you were 8 years of age. I want to ask you this question. Did the faith that your mother had encouraged you to become a part of when you gave your life to Christ, that faith, as an 8-year-old, did it help you through that difficult time?
It's actually quite an interesting thought, because it was almost the opposite, in that my mom was such a strong believer. So many people came to me afterwards saying, your mom's the most spiritual person I've ever known. Some people said she's like Mother Teresa, very young, but the heart of Mother Teresa. And they would tell me all these stories of her just, serving people and loving them and going to their homes. As a nurse, she'd treat someone in the hospital, go to their homes and follow up. And I just heard all these stories of how great and how strong of a believer she was. So the big question for me is like, well, God, how could you not protect, someone so close to you? So it left me with the pain of, we say why do bad things happen to good people. So if this is a super saint, how could she and my sister die in this car accident?
You've gone through this very difficult time. You get into your teenage years. Now you're 16 years of age. You're in high school. While you're there, you start this unique club, this unique meeting in high school. What kind of meeting was it? And I want to ask you the question, why this type of meeting?
So we'd been part of a small group, maybe, five or 10 people at the most, and it was really struggling. And a new youth pastor came in, very young guy, no tools, no programs, but he carried on his life this authentic love that I'd seen before. And he just invited the few kids over to his basement, and, almost overnight, in our town of 1,300 people, this group exploded to, jam-packed, 50. We had to move somewhere else, 100. So this little tiny town is now having this mini revival of just authentic love. Nothing flashy, no smoke machines, just, people caring about people. And out of an overflow, they said, you need to go start a prayer group at school. So, we started praying in the hallways with a few people. It grew quite rapidly, moved to the band room. You hear a lot about, the band room prayer groups. We outgrew the band room, which was probably 50, 60 people, and had to move it to the gym, where you've got, a major percentage of the student body joining in for morning prayer, many of which, just coming in with their struggles, their home lives, just asking for encouragement. And it was just a really, really powerful time.
You chose to go to Bible college.
Yeah.
Why the choice to Bible college?
So my family's been part of founding this Bible college, and are a big part of it. And it was the tradition, like all Baliskys go to Bible college. Like, this is what we do. So it's kind of I couldn't break the family routine. I'd already started an online business, and was quite active with that. But so I did go out of tradition, love it or not, and but my heart wasn't fully in it. I was starting to party. I'd never drank, never done drugs, but in Bible school, I started hanging out with friends, not going to Bible school. And I remember being at a party and lecturing these guys how, drugs were stupid and you guys are just goofballs, for an hour straight. And they're just sitting there arguing with me about why drugs are good. We're having this debate, and that's the first night I actually did drugs, where it's just like after, lecturing them for an hour, I was like, yeah, okay, like I'm in. And that was like a very defining moment.
So while you're in Bible college, this is going on, and you lasted a year, and you left Bible college, and you got into the world of business. And it's at that point then things began to spiritually really darken for you as an individual. The demonic world comes alive. You've talked about voices. You've talked about strange occurrences happening. Explain what you got into and how deep did you go?
Well, the interesting part was, when you start down that journey, there's an attraction model, which is like the sales pitch. Hey, join us. We'll lead you into the things your heart's desires. If you want drinking and girls, we'll help you get there. And, or if you're looking for drugs or drugs on the street, I would just see people and they'd be highlighted, and I knew exactly what they would have to offer me. So if at any point I wanted something or was seeking something, in any area that's dark, it's like an intuition, you might say, but it's like, I know that guy has this drug, or I know this girl would, do this with me. And it just became very overt, as if someone was just communicating beyond what normal hunches would give. So at that point, it was undeniable to me that this darkness, this realm existed.
It was real.
Yeah, it was very real, yeah.
Age 23, you proposed to your wife, Lonnie, but you do so in the most unusual way and place. Describe it for us.
I was going to a televised MMA fight, a cage fight. In this fight, I told the crew, like, hey, if I win, I'm going to propose. So, get ready. And so we go into the fight, and the fight ends up being a 41-second first-round TKO. But halfway through the fight, I remember blacking out, and all of a sudden, I was grabbing the guy, and I was like, how did I get here? Like, I don't understand. I was standing up, and now I'm, like, bent over holding the guy, and it's like this memory lapse happened, and this moment of, where is kind of a defining moment for me is I threw the guy to the ground and was on top of him, hitting him, and I was screaming like that, profanity that he should die, which never in my training had I ever, that has never come out. It's always like a competitive thing. I'm going to win. I'm going to, beat this guy up, but never, never that kind of dark rage that came out. So I thought that was very interesting that, I have this first time blackout and this rage comes out. And it started to make sense to me again, confirming, wow, like this is tied into this dark spiritual realm. Like I'm still part of it.
So Steve, after you won that match, then you did something, I'm going to say, going from a dark side to a romantic side with Lonnie. What did you do?
Yep. So I grabbed the mic and called her in and just proposed to her, right there. And the announcers were joking like, well, she can't really say no after a win like that. And she was excited. And it was just, in the physical, this moment of just crazy, fun, which I didn't think too deeply of. But, I look back now and I now say like that was the moment our relationship was forged in combat, right? Like the beginning was really in a dark place.
You propose, you get married, but as you say, your relationship with Lonnie wasn't the way it should be. It wasn't working. What's interesting is you and Lonnie reached out to help. You reached out to the church for help, and they respond. They direct you to counseling, but it's very interesting the kind of counselor they sent you to and the advice you got. Mm-hmm. Can you explain who and what happened?
Yeah, and so after we got married, we were just in a rough marriage, a lot of argument, a lot of tension, just extreme unhealth, tearing each other down, as bad as you can get, emotionally destructive. And prior to that meeting with the church, we had a dark encounter where for the first time I had an overt experience with a manifest demon that was just undeniable in another person. And they're talking to me, explaining why the dark side's good, and it's like this, this twisted voice, much like you'd see in a movie when someone's possessed. And in this moment, I said, I sought back to Bible or Sunday school and pulled out my little Bible verse and said, get out in Jesus' name. And it laughed at me and said, you don't know your authority in Christ, which was terrifying because one, this is now real, and two, I have no authority over it. So in a state of like, what do I do? We said, well, let's go to the church like any other normal person would do if they had this dark encounter. And a beautiful pastoral couple met us and listened to our story, and really felt they cared for us. And they said, we just have the perfect person for you guys to meet. Oh, great! We're so excited. And so we get to the counselor, and literally the first thing out of her mouth was, welcome to the uncoupling process. The counselor said, they looked me straight in the eye and said, Steve, you have enough baggage to destroy any relationship. And then she looked at my wife and said, you have enough baggage personally to destroy any relationship. And together you guys are absolutely hopeless. So like our only move now is just to end this as fast as possible.
You leave and you decide to tough it out. But it's not working. Stress is building up. What did that stress in the relationship and all that was happening, what did it drive you to become? What did you begin to do to possibly hide, soften the pain that you're going through? What did Steve become?
Something inside of us said, we're gonna stay together no matter what. But when you're in a totally destructive place with no hope, it's just deep depression. And, deep depression for me resulted in major alcoholism and continued drugs. But really, this is the first time alcohol became a major thing in my life. So
you became an alcoholic?
Yeah. I was what you might call a functioning alcoholic. I still worked hard, still in business. We would drink at work, drink with work colleagues, and then just drink all night. And it was, an easy 12 drinks a night and then 24 on a weekend. And this was my cycle. And often I'd wake up in places I don't know how I got to. And, it was terrifying when, what's happening. And, there's videos of me at places I don't remember going to, arm wrestling VPs that I don't even remember going to that venue. And it's like, man, like what am I doing with my life? But when you are in that darkness, when you only feel trapped, there's no hope. You just continue to degenerate to a place where, the best part of our relationship was when, Lonnie's like, I don't want to be around you when you're drinking. And I said, great. Like, I don't want to be around you at all. Like, so I retrofitted this storage closet into a little man cave with a TV and video games. And I just come home every night and drink till I passed out and then wake up and go back to work.
And so you lived kind of in this little shed closet.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is my wife and I in Hawaii on our wedding day. Yeah, I look at these, like our wedding photos. We're in Maui, and there are these beautiful shots, and we're in a magazine, and it's like, wow, like this is it, this is great. And I think it was, the next day my wife was sleeping on the couch because we were already at it. So, we didn't even get through 24 hours of being married before, the relational tension started. So, you look at those photos and, the beautiful ones are great, but, the ones later on when I'm drinking, I look at those and I could just see, the sadness, the dead inside, right? And, you can go through life like that, but if you look for it deep down, you can see it in people, what they're really going through, so.
Now, at some point during this dark time in your life, Lonnie, your wife, she undergoes this incredible spiritual transformation. This happens to her. So how did you then react to this? I mean, you're in this dark world. All of a sudden, light comes into her world. How did you react?
Well, it was interesting because shortly before this light encounter was my kind of rock bottom moment where Lonnie's got a lot of physical health issues going on, and she's very, very sick. Our house is full of medical equipment, treatment equipment. She's literally very sick and dying. She says to me, why aren't you fighting for my life? And all I could say back is, I don't care if I live myself. Like, I don't care. How could you expect me to fight for you? And, the words came out, but it made me realize how deep it had become. That when you just absolutely give up hope, so she needed someone to walk with her. I wasn't there, and she's physically dying and has this encounter where she feels she's almost going to die, and God shows up in this major way, touches her life, sets her free, and immediately she just starts. Her whole mind is filled with light, and she knows God is with her. And begins to lead her out, and so she comes to me and says, "Hey, like, you gotta come find God." And I just looked at her and said, "If you want to find Jesus, you go find Jesus. Like, I'm not interested."
But at age 29, things began to change for you. The God of your youth, the God that you had learned about and allowed to become a part of your life, of which you left, this God begins to move you and influence you and kind of pull you back home, spiritually speaking, kind of like the prodigal son. And unusual things started to happen to bring you back. But can you explain some of those, and where did it lead you?
Yeah, so, despite my actions, one day I was just sitting there having a good time, drinking and playing video games, and I just heard this voice that it just said to me, like, you need to clean up your life. And it wasn't my voice. It wasn't being like, I should clean up. It was like, attention alert, like, you need to do this. And it called me to attention. I just remember it was just such a powerful voice that I couldn't ignore it. And right away I was like, you're right. Like, I'm this far gone. I do need to clean up my life.
Did you believe that was God speaking to you?
I did. I absolutely knew it, yeah.
So when you heard that voice, what did you do?
So I said, okay, well, I need help. Like, help me out. How do I get out from my situation? And God just started saying, you need to cut back your drinking. So I just started Googling, how to break alcoholism, and I came to the AA website. It discussed a taper plan, and so I just said, okay, God, I'm going to start this taper plan, you and me. I'd reached out to people in the past. We'd reached out to different people, for help along the way, and no one ever had any tangible power to help us. So at this point, my hope was, if this is going to happen, it's me and God. And so I remember the first Saturday that, I only drank 20 beers instead of the normal 24. And I was like, wow, like I did it. Like I could make progress. And God came to me and said, you now have a 4-beer testimony. And I want you to go and witness to the people who still drink 24 beers.
A 4-beer story.
Yeah.
That was kind of the beginning of your testimony.
That was it, yeah.
And so as you went to begin to witness, did your drinking then subside? I mean, was God starting to work back in your life?
Yeah, so I continued on the plan, one less a day for a week. On a weekday it was 12 a day, then for a week, then 11 a day for a week, 10 a day for a week, and continue to progress down, till we got to 2. And when I got to 2 beers a day, I was like, man, this is great. I'm not even an alcoholic. I mean, even at 4, I was like, I don't even get drunk every day. This is really great.
Steve, was there that one defining moment that you could put your finger on, as Christians say, where the God of your youth, the Jesus that you knew back then, became Lord and Savior of Steve's life?
I know for sure at age 6, he became my Savior, and the Bible promises he will never leave us or forsake us. And despite the turbulence of everything I went through and the re-seeking the truth and finding my way back to where is the truth, I know for sure he never left me, and he was just watching and is extremely tolerant to the juvenile thrashing around that I did. But that day with the 4 beers was the day that he became my Lord, which is my service to him, my commitment to him. And when he said, like, you have this 4-beer story, I said, if I'm coming back to some form of Christian experience, I'm all in. I want nothing but your fullness for me, your full power of life transformation, and in return, I'll give you my full life.
And that's when everything changed.
Yeah. Today I'm just in a place of total freedom. It's absolutely amazing. I've got a beautiful family, a thriving marriage. We've got a son and a second son on the way, and to live a life today of not only a thriving, healthy marriage, but also, no addictions. And, I don't say I'm an addict, I'm totally free. I think back, my rock bottom was maybe only 8 years ago. And, in that point, I think never thought I'd be able to stand, where I am today.
If you want to learn more about the gospel of Jesus Christ and how it can transform your life, you can request a free Bible by calling toll-free 1-888-482-4253 or visit www.gideons.ca/request. You can begin your journey with Christ now.